YouTube. This is MissVindicat, and look what I've got. It is a very big book. It is on the origin of species, written by Charles Darwin. And actually, I just sold this book. You know how I've been sort of looking into minimalism and trying to pay off my student debt. Well, I don't know if you know that, but anyway, that's the way it is. So I've been selling my books, and this book, I'm sort of sad because I bought this book a couple of years ago, and I really wanted to read it and to learn about Charles Darwin and his theories, and then I just never did. It is a tough book, a difficult book with lots of words, not that much pictures, and I just never got around to doing it. And now I've sold it, and I'm okay with selling it. It'll give me almost $30, which is nice. And also, now every time when I look at the book, I feel guilty for not doing what I intended to do. So I thought tonight, the last night that this book will be in my home, I'm going to wrap it up later and send it out tomorrow morning. So I will just take a last look at the book, and I'll make some notes in this cute, let me show you, this cute cat notebook. I've been using that for, I don't know, for all kinds of stuff. Basically my old blog and a bit about my YouTube channel. But it's a couple of years ago that I last used it. I think maybe 2016. Anyway, I'm going to take this page and take some notes. Also, I don't know if you can see them in the shot. Let me check. You can see Mike a little bit. He's over there. And also Harvey is just next to her. He is over there. And he's just out of the shot. And then I made myself a cup of tea in this nice cup. Let me show you. See, actually normally when the cup is cold, it is black and the little kittens are sort of pinkish. And now, because the tea is hot, it changes colors. It's still very hot to drink. And I made myself some of this. It is a tea, an organic infusion tea, strawberry and elderflower. And I don't know. I think the packaging looks beautiful and it tastes good. So, alright, let's dive into this book. I'll just Charles Darwin. So I guess this is sort of a study with me video. It is a book video, of course, but a little bit different than my normal book videos in which I just browse through the book, which I will still be doing here, I guess. So, as you can see, it is the illustrated edition, and there is a general editor, David Quammen. So let me see here. It was $35, and I don't know what I paid for it in euros back in the day, but I think if I sell it now for $30 euros, I might even make a little bit of profit. So yes, let me see. This is a bit of an intro on the impact that this book had. It was first published in 1859, and there were a lot of controversies. How do I pronounce that word? I don't know. It was a very controversial book and author. And then this is a new edition of the masterwork. So yeah, there are all kinds of animals here. That looks really nice. So what I'm going to do, since there's a lot of words, I can't read it all. And I sort of want to, but I've had this book in my collection for years now, and clearly I'm not going to read it. Otherwise I would have done so by now. So I'm just going to take a look at it. Then it's printed in China, alright. And actually this book is published in 2008. So that is a long time ago. So let me see. It's about the HMS Beagle, which is the ship that Charles Darwin used to take a trip around South America. And yeah, you can see here already, even just the introduction is difficult and dense, and it's just too much. So then there's a picture of Darwin's mother, Susanna. Alright. And the mother, Susanna, came from the prosperous Wedgwood family of pottery fame. And indeed, Wedgwood is still a brand of pottery, right? Pottery. So let me see. There is an introduction, then variation under domestication, variation under nature, and that is of course the different types of varieties there are in animals, or in all life, humans as well, of course. Struggle for existence, natural selection, laws of variation, difficulties of theory, instinct, hybridism, on the imperfection of the geological record, and even more on the geological succession of organic beings, geographical distribution, mutual affinities of organic beings, morphology, embryology, rudimentary organs, recapitulation and conclusion. Well, I don't know how about you, but I still, if I would have like a month and I had nothing to do and I had brought this book, then I would love to delve into this book and learn everything there is to learn. But it's just too much. I don't have that time, unfortunately. I would love to, but yeah. So let's just learn something in the upcoming hour, or I don't know. It'll probably take me a while. So what's this picture? Joseph Hooker, Charles Lyell, and Charles Darwin. That's apparently two of his friends, and this is Darwin himself. Joseph Hooker is really his name, and Charles Lyell. Alright. So he was a naturalist. Is that like a biologist? I think so. I always saw him as a biologist. But, alright. So, botanic garden. Nice. Organic Life by Erasmus Darwin. This is, is that his name? Charles, but So is this his father? Who's this? Erasmus Darwin's. Oh, his grandson Charles read it as a young student, but wasn't consciously influenced. So apparently Erasmus is grandpa. Carl Linnaeus, a Swedish botanist. And yeah, isn't he the one that sort of made like a, what does it say here? Yeah, sometimes called the father of modern taxonomy. You know, like he came up with all the taxonomy, really. Oh, nice. So this is the bird-winged butterfly in Papua New Guinea. So in Asia, not in South America. And patterns of species distribution, that is biogeography, were among Darwin's crucial forms of evidence. So what does that mean? That certain types of patterns on these butterflies, on these wings, that he saw them in different parts of the world. Here we've got Susanna Wedgwood again. Was born in 1765 and died in 1817. And she is his mother. And this is Dr. Robert Darwin, Charles' corpulent, severe father. Oh, wow. Well, yeah, he's a bit big. And he was skeptical of the Beagle voyage beforehand. He lived to see his son make good. Alright, so father is Dr. Robert Darwin, born in 1768, 3 years younger than his mother, and died in 1848. So here's the beagle. Nice. I'm basically looking at the pictures at this point because there's just too much letters, too much words. I can't read all this. Wow. Flamingos on the Galapagos Islands. A beard pigeon. I didn't know that one existed. An albatross performing their courtship dance. So this was a young Robert Fitzroy. Oh, he deplored Darwin's theory later on in his life. Equator crossing ceremony. Oh, I really like that. Somehow, equators, like we've got several of them, but you know, those kinds of borders, I don't know, I'm obsessed with them. Also with like borders of countries, or I really like those kinds of things. A beagle. Oh wow. Bahia, Brazil, around Darwin's time. This is also the shore of Brazil. And this was one of the beagle's first stops. The beagle Fernando Noronha, offshore from Brazil. And here it says Darwin as much a geologist as a biologist at that point. So he is a bit of both, or maybe even more things. I think, you know, like a couple of 100 years ago, science wasn't as much in different parts as it is now. Nowadays you choose one small part to study. easier to do a lot of things, or I don't know. Maybe that's not even true, because back then it was probably hard to study, you know. You had to be rich and I don't know. Rio de Janeiro. And what's this? Inland from Bahia, Brazil, Darwin got his first glimpse of a tropical forest. Nice. I remember my first tropical forest, and somehow in my mind, the fact that it was tropical meant that there would be lots and lots of flowers in all kinds of colors. And it was the jungle in Guatemala, my first. And then just everything was green. I mean lush, sure, but green. And I remember being very surprised and also feeling a little bit silly, like, how did I not know that? How did I not see pictures or movies, or I don't know. It was sort of strange. So these are ants, and apparently Darwin wondered how such instinctive social behaviors evolved. And yeah, for sure ants have a typical way of evolving, or you know, acting. So then we are at the part of variation under nature. Charles Darwin and his sister Catherine. And the Shrewsbury School that he attended. And a dolphin. Galapagos. It's really beautiful. Look at this iguana. And Darwin noticed that this species had feet adapted for digging, not swimming, unlike the marine iguana. So this was a land iguana, and that way probably, you know, made him wonder about how those differences came about and how it worked. Palm trees, Darwin felt, never failed to give the scene a tropical flavor. Yeah, I can see why that's true. I'm sort of just looking at the images, like I said, and I'm reading the sentences beneath them. Kind of, you know, yeah. Robert Grant. Who was Robert Grant? An early evolutionist who befriended Darwin as a medical student in Edinburgh. He had ideas but no theory. Alright, Robert Grant. Struggle for existence. So, what's this? Charles Darwin's class card from Edinburgh. He found medical school boring and after 2 years became a dropout. So apparently he attended medical school and he became a dropout. See guys, it's not always bad if you drop out. But alright, different times probably. So, a model of the ship. The pages feel really nice. There's this subtle structure. So, natural selection. So, to the right, this is Christ's College, Cambridge, which Darwin attended after leaving Edinburgh. So, Edinburgh first, and then Cambridge. was, kind of, collecting all these types, but not really thinking about why there were that many kinds. Wolves, the swiftest, will have the best chance of surviving, provided they are strong enough to kill. Yes, alright. So, landing at Buenos Aires. It sort of goes all over the place. We were in Brazil, then we were back in Cambridge. Now we are in Argentina. What's this? A South American wildcat, Felis pajeros, also known as the Pampas cat. Alright. I like that one. It looks a bit like my Harvey. A girl at the Galapagos Islands. Oh, cockatoo. Alright, let me take another sip. Yeah, now it's very good to drink. Oh wow, what's this? A hogfish. That looks scary. Then this looks intriguing. Darwin's diagram of the divergence of taxa. What is taxa? But apparently he's already sort of noting all the different variations. A sea lion mother and pup. Evening camp, Buenos Aires. Yeah, where would it have? I mean, they had a ship, but then they would probably just camp everywhere. Wow. There are a summary of chapter, so I guess I could just read all the summaries, but even that feels like a lot of words. So this will just be, like the short version. So this is Darwin's achromatic microscope. He started collecting them before his voyage on the HMS Beagle. So he collected beetles and microscopes. This is a page from one of Darwin's early transmutation notebooks, in which he brainstormed his way to the idea of evolution by natural selection. Ah, that's interesting. Here there's a ship. So, here there's this sort of overview. In 1809, he was born. In 1812, the United States declared war on Britain, and Napoleon invaded Russia. In 1817, Darwin's mother, Susanna, dies after a brief illness. Darwin is then only 8 years old. His 3 elder sisters assumed the gentler dimensions of parenting him, overseen by his formidable father, Dr. Robert Darwin. Then in 1818, he is then about 9 years old. He begins attending Shrewsbury School, boarding student. A boarding student, even though the school sits only a mile from his family home. Wow. A year later, the Queen Victoria is born. Then in 1822, Darwin and his elder brother Erasmus. Wasn't that grandpa? Yes, apparently a brother too. They set up a chemistry lab in his shed in the garden. Wow. Then at 1825, he begins medical studies at Edinburgh. I can't say that, Edinburgh University, following in the footsteps of his father and brother. And sometime while at Edinburgh, he becomes the protege of Robert Grant, the guy with the ideas but no theories. And there he starts to study zoology. Alright, and then in 28 he begins at Cambridge. And in 1831 he takes his Cambridge degree. The graduation ceremony cost him £15, and he tells one of his sisters there is a waste of money. But £15, that is a lot of money, right, for those days, I guess. Why is that so expensive? Alright, then in 1831 also, December, the beagle departs with him aboard. He immediately gets seasick. Alright, then the next year, the next years the ship is sailing along the east and west coast of South America, and Darwin matures into an observant, thoughtful, and methodical naturalist. And in 1836, the beagle stops in Australia. And in 1837, Darwin begins rewriting his beagle diary into what he hopes will be a publishable book. 1838, living a solitary life. What does that even mean? Darwin continues work on his beagle book. Alright. Oh, and then in November, he proposes marriage to his cousin Emma Wedgwood, taking her by surprise. And then in January, they are married. Well, strange times. And then he publishes his book, The Voyage of the Beagle. And a year later, they get a child. There will be 9 more, though only 7, including William, will live to adulthood. Wow. So he is studying some more. In 1842 they escape London, the family. Alright. And in 1844 Darwin writes a longer draft of the theory. Again he files it away, this time with a letter to Emma instructing her to publish it in case of my sudden death. Alright. So a lot of things happen in his personal life. A daughter dies. And Alfred Russel Wallace. I think I learned something about him in my anthropology studies. And then in 1859 his abstract is published in an edition of 1250 copies. And that is on the origin of species by means of natural selection or the preservation of favored races in a struggle for life. All available copies are sold the first day. 5 more editions will appear in Darwin's lifetime and many afterward, eventually under the simplified title, The Origin of Species. But the title of this one already is On the Origin of Species. And at 1861, Abraham Lincoln becomes President of the United States. like Charles Darwin, he is 52 years and 20 days old. Of the two men, only Darwin will live a quiet old age. So they are exactly the same age. Then this is Ernst Haeckel, an extravagant German biologist. So let's see. There's just too much to read. But then again, I don't have to read all this. Oh, this looks nice, all these butterflies. I find this font a bit hard to read. It looks nice, like it's really written, but so let's see. A model of the ship. What's this? Difficulties on theory. Charles Darwin, naturalist, lived in a house on this site, but apparently the house is gone. Species piled high. Yeah. So this was Charles Lyell, the great geologist who became Darwin's first powerful scientific friend in London. Wow. Looks like an interesting guy. Ah, wow. Lemur in Madagascar. Yeah, because it's a large island, anciently isolated. So not only isolated now, but apparently it has been isolated for a very long time. Madagascar contains many unique species. You know, it's a bit the same with Australia, I think, because they have been separated from the other lands for so long. There's all these different types, and that apparently made Darwin think, you know. So this is a Falkland Island fox, an endemic species, like a species that originally, you know, that originated from there. Tame and curious when Darwin visited, it's now extinct. An otter cat. Wow, I didn't even know that one existed. Two different types of rodents. Yeah, they just look like mice, I think. So this is a manuscript page from Darwin's sketch of 1842, his first outline draft of the evolutionary theory. He set it aside and wouldn't publish for another 17 years. Wow, that is a long time. So, Georges Cuvier, French zoologist and paleontologist, lecturing at the Muséum National d'Histoire Naturelle. He was no evolutionist, but he introduced an important idea that species can go extinct and that many had. Oh wow, that was a new idea back then. Oh yeah, that is just, to me that is a geological thing, you know, you just know that, but indeed, at first people didn't know, they just saw all these types of species, so how would you know that there had been other types, and that they were completely gone? This is Darwin at 31, recently married. A dignified young naturalist with a secret theory about evolution. And this is Emma Wedgwood Darwin, around the time of her marriage to Charles, her first cousin. Ah, yeah, because I was like, why is she also a Wedgwood? But indeed, she was the cousin. And what's this? Oh, the church where the two of them married in 1839. Tropical bird. So, what's this? York Minster, one of hostage by Fitzroy during an earlier voyage. The three were educated for a time in England, then returned to Cheradel Fuego aboard the Beagle. Oh, wow, that is so sad. Why would they take them hostage? You know, just to show them around. People did so many bad things. Well, still do, but... The experiment ultimately pleased nobody. Well, yeah. Stupid. Bad weather. A green sea turtle. So many words. This is Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, a French naturalist. His theory of evolution predates Darwin's but was not as logical, persuasive or enduring. Cape Horn. Then his family tree: Charles Darwin, Susanna Wedgwood, Robert W. Darwin. But what's this? I mean, this... I'm confused. I'm pretty much confused. Erasmus. Hey. Mikey. You are welcome here, but just choose a place and sit. Hybridism. So this is Annie, Darwin's daughter. What are you doing? What do you want? Yes. Okay, you sit there. This was apparently his favorite child. That's a bit sad. And she died at age 10. Widens his distance from Christian belief. Wow, that's a nice drawing. This is Townhouse, the place where they lived. Chile. Pink flamingo. Townhouse. So that is some sort of, I don't know, part. Is it part of a museum right now? It's a monument. So that house still exists. The Foundations of the Origin of Species. A sketch written in 1842. It remained unpublished until after Darwin's death, then drew interest at one of the foundations of his theory. So yeah, clearly there are imperfections and... wow. So this is Darwin's study in the townhouse, restored too much as he left it. Wow. That's actually pretty awesome. Sea lion. Charles Darwin Darwin at age 45 during his 8-year distraction, revising the taxonomy of barnacles. And this is the Sand Walk at Townhouse, Darwin's path for meditative strolling. It's nice to have a path for meditative strolling. Well, I still feel like I learned something about him. Apparently not as much as I might have, if I would have really read the book. This is the first edition, 1859. Darwin called it his abominable volume during the writing, but upon publication it became My Child. London, John Murray, Albemarle Street, 1859. And this is Darwin at 1854. And what did it say? Geological succession. Who's this guy? Thomas Henry Huxley, Darwin's friend and great public defender. Thomas Henry Huxley. It's a letter from Darwin to Huxley. Dun, dun, dun. The loyal Joseph Hooker, Darwin's closest friend and chief scientific confidant. Yeah, they said it here. Closest friend. Scenes of the Beagle being repaired against the backdrop of the Andes. Komodo dragon. Chilenos. There's so much theory. Yeah, it's good that I'm selling this book because now somebody will, take a look at this book and hopefully will read it and enjoy it, because I'm not enjoying this enough. It's too much for me. Even though I am interested, I usually like it more when a person tells me about something, and then I like to read about it afterwards, but I like it if a person tells me stuff. Especially if it's a person, with a nice voice. So it'll be all kind of ASMR like. I'm forgetting about my tea. It's still nice. But it is getting a bit colder, so. Although tea is not that bad when it's cold, I think. Oh wow, look at this one. Crab. I think coffee is tastes really bad when it's cold. So what are these? Darwin was a man of the day, with or without that leer. I don't know what that means. Vanity Fair. Venerable orang-utan. Darwin tracked one tortoise while it attained a top speed of 6 yards per minute. These are all illustrations by a person named Elizabeth Gold. They're beautiful. Another mouse, or what is this? Mus Darwini. see a woman. So this is engraving of Darwin. Alright. Darwin at age 72, about a year before his death, shy of attention and wary of controversy. Oh, that is actually sad. And this is the Galapagos penguin, another endemic species, another vibrant anomaly. Is the only penguin that nests only in the tropics. Oh, yeah. I didn't know there were tropical penguins. A plate from Darwin's 1872 book, The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. During his final years, Darwin let others fight the loud battles and concentrated his own work on earthworms and plants. That does feel a little bit sad. Darwin's greenhouse, downhouse, you know, the place where he lived, 1882. And here, from Huxley's Man's Place in Nature, making the point about common origins as reflected in continuity of form. Gibbon, orang, chimpanzee, gorilla, man. A red kangaroo with a joey in her pouch, Australia. Marsupials, Darwin's noted, represent a distinct line of mammal evolution, not so diverse as carnivores or rodents. And marsupials, I don't know what it is. Is that big animals with pouches? Might be. Bunch was right about one thing. Darwin sat at the center of an evolving story. Man is but warm. Who are these people? Thomas Bell and Robert Chambers. Yeah, there are a lot of pages. We're already at page 457. No wonder I didn't read this book. Ah, nice. An Australian group of weapons and throwing sticks. First edition of Darwin's Beagle narrative, which made him a famous young naturalist. So he became famous pretty early on. This is Henry Drummond, an evangelical writer and lecturer. He argued for the application of natural law to the spiritual world and published a hopeful treatise titled The Ascent of Man. And the stead, upright Englishman. What does it say here? Darwin was a visionary, a revolutionist, and a state upright Englishman. Ah, alright. In a world of accelerated climate change, penguins, even tropical penguins, may not survive. Darwin would be sad. Oh yes, I would be sad too. So here we've got the recapitulation and conclusion. So, still a lot of words, but alright. So this is Charles and Emma. She didn't share his dark views. But she studied and protected him. That is nice. A portrait of Darwin. Victoria had never seen fit to knight him, but amends were made. Two of his sons eventually received knighthoods for accomplishments less important than his. Yeah, right, that's kind of... Charles Robert Darwin, born 12 February 1809, died 19 April 1882. Darwin's statue, Shrewsbury School. Alright, that is, his first school. Uncle Charles said, "I want you to support science and reason." The battle continues. Oh wow, a silly lightfoot crab. Though not unique to the Galapagos, are a conspicuous species there. They likely scattered at the feet of a young English naturalist in October 1835. That must have been Darwin. Well, it must be hard to think of such a theory, and then when lots of people in the world start to doubt you and your sanity. And he's mostly proven right, of course, but yeah. The book is just making all these creaking sounds. So here there are some difficult words. And then we're getting to the end of this book. Well, I did learn some things about his life, and his family, and his friends, and about those sad penguins. So, let me just read this to you. It will be some sort of summary, I think. Charles Darwin was born in 1809 into an affluent family in the English Midlands. He graduated from Cambridge University and was drifting toward a career as a clergyman until invited to join an overseas expedition aboard HMS Beagle. During that voyage, he found his vocation as a naturalist and began to suspect that species had somehow evolved. Back in England, he quickly formulated his theory of evolution by natural selection.